My mom told me that I didn't like this movie because I wasn't sophisticated enough, but then I was like, no, Mom, the movie's just stupid. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Gen Z in the 80s, where I, a member of Gen Z, talks about movies that came out way before my time. I just want to thank you guys so much for the kind and supportive comments. And for my Teen Witch review, I was really nervous about uploading that, but because I didn't know how people would react to it, but obviously it worked out in my favor, so I'm just really grateful. I'm just gonna warn you guys, this review may run a little long because this movie, there's a lot to discuss. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about 1989's Dream a Little Dream, starring Corey Feldman and somewhat starring Corey Haim. I mean, he's not really in the movie too much, but I mean, he's on the poster for marketing purposes, so it's a Corey's movie. By the way, in case some of you guys watching don't know this, Corey Feldman and Corey Haim were two actors in the 80s who came together and they did a lot of movies together, and they were teen heartthrobs, and it was a whole thing. And so when I refer to them as the Coreys, that's what I'm talking about. I just want to apologize in advance to all the Gen Xers watching this because y'all are not getting a good review of this movie. This movie was garbage. This movie was the most incomprehensible dumpster fire I have ever seen. You see, I started writing down notes while I was watching the movie, and I stopped around 15 minutes in because I genuinely didn't know what to write down. I'm gonna try and summarize what it's about, but I don't even think the writer knew what it was about. This movie, it's a body swap movie, but it decides to get way more complicated than it needs to be. Basically, the plot is Corey Feldman's love interest, and this old couple all switch bodies, except the only body swapping that happens is the old man going in Corey Feldman's body, and then everyone else is in this dream state. It is, I don't even know. I am going to review this scene by scene the best I can, but bear with me because I don't even think the people involved in this movie knew what was happening. So the movie opens up with the Feldman Corey, who plays Bobby, and he's all like, "Dude, I'm in love with Lady. Ow!" And the Haim Corey, who plays Dinger, is all like, "Dude, you can't like Lainey. Psycho Joel will freak out." I don't understand why this movie expects us to care so much when we don't even know who these people are yet. Also, the opening scene is edited so obnoxiously because it keeps cutting back and forth to the Coreys talking and then the opening credits. The opening scene is literally just them goofing around and dropping exposition that we can't comprehend because this movie doesn't know how to hold a shot for more than 5 seconds! So in this opening scene, we learn that Bobby and Dinger are flunking every class, Bobby's parents don't care about him, and Dinger's mom ran over his leg with her Volvo. You see, we are told all this information because the show don't tell rule doesn't apply in this movie. Also, fun fact about this movie, Corey Haim actually broke his leg in real life, so they had to write that into the movie. After the title drops, we get more opening credits, and this time it is taken place in a weird dream sequence with the old man whose name is Coleman in this movie, and it's of him singing "Dream a Little Dream" in Me. It turns out him and Bobby have the same exact dream for some weird and unexplained reason. And then Dinger decides to sum up this entire movie in one sentence.
"Bobby, that's just stupid."
Then for the next 15 minutes or so, everything happens so fast. A lot happens, but yet nothing happens. So the movie decides to cut back and forth between the lives of the teenagers and then the lives of the old couple. And I understand that it wants to show how different their lives are, but the movie does such a bad job at balancing it. So first it shows the old couple talking about some meditative dream thing that Coleman's obsessed with doing. Then it shows the Corys getting ready for school. Then it shows the wife of Coleman, whose name is Gina, talking to a friend about wanting her husband to stop being so obsessed with this meditative dream thing. Then the movie decides to breathe for a little bit when it shows a confrontation between Coleman and the teenagers. So throughout the movie, the teenagers like to use this old couple's front yard as a shortcut to get to school. And the old couple obviously, they're not cool with it at all. So after Coleman and the teenagers start bickering for a bit, Coleman then gets out a hose and then sprays them with water that is dyed red. God, at least I hope that's water. And then that's when the movie decides to speed up again. So it cuts to Lainey, the love interest of this movie, which, by the way, her actress was actually in one of my favorite episodes of Buffy. This has nothing to do with anything. I just like referencing Buffy whenever I possibly can. It cuts to her dancing for 5 seconds. Then it cuts to the old people eating. Then it cuts to Joel, Lainey's boyfriend and Bobby's friend, drinking alcohol from his locker. Then it cuts to Coleman and his friends talking about the reasoning behind his meditative dream thing, which I'll explain later. Then it cuts to Bobby looking at Lainey. Then it cuts to Coleman doing his meditative dream thing. Then it cuts to the Corys playing with the basketball. Then it cuts to the old people talking. Then within the cut of the old people talking, there are these really weird second-long clips that keep playing as they're talking. Then they turn their lamp off and it fades to the teenagers singing, and then it fades to black again, but then it fades into white, and now we're back with the old couple, which, by the way, this movie really likes using fade transitions and it's really annoying. And then the movie decides to have a montage of the old people hanging out, and then in the same montage, it cuts to Lainey dancing, and then the montage kind of ends, and now Joel and these bad boys that the movie kind of just expects you to know already get into a confrontation. And then it cuts to the Corys walking, and then it cuts to Lainey, Joel, and this other guy that's in the movie, but he really doesn't do anything. Then it cuts back to the old people walking home. Then it cuts back to Lainey and Joel. Then it cuts back to the Corys complaining about parents. Then it cuts back to the old people going outside. Then it briefly cuts back to Lainey and Joel. Then it cuts back to the old people starting their dream meditation thing, and I think that's a good place to stop.
I'm just so lightheaded.
Did that sound exhausting? Try watching it. I had never experienced whiplash from watching a movie until I watched this one. It is ridiculous that so much happened and yet so little happened. I understand that this movie wanted the two lives to foil each other, but the execution is terrible. The main problem with this movie is that it doesn't know how to breathe and just take its time. There are literally scenes in this movie that start and finish as voiceovers because this movie is in such a rush. You want to know more about these characters, but you can't because the movie doesn't take its time to let you get to know them. Why is Bobby in love with Lainey? What even is Lainey's personality? Why is Joel considered a psycho? You see him drink alcohol at school, which, don't get me wrong, that can say a lot about him, but that doesn't necessarily mean psycho. Which, don't get me wrong, it does go into Joel's psychoticness later, but this is a first impression. This is the first 15 minutes of the movie. I'm just not getting the impression that Joel is this big psycho that everyone keeps talking about. You hear about Bobby's parents and how they ignore him, but you never actually see them until after the body switch. All of these cuts focused so much on the old couple and not enough on the teenagers. You know, this is a teen movie. You think they would focus more on their target demographic. Alright, so now I have to explain the reasoning behind this dream meditative stuff. So basically, Coleman wants to go into a world that exists between dreams and reality so he can spend eternity with his wife, Gina. But Gina thinks that the entire thing is crazy. See, I explained that better in one sentence than this movie did. Because this movie felt the need to drag all of that out in 50 cuts. And it was hard to understand because of how fast everything was happening. And now, there are very little things to like about this movie. But one thing that I actually really like is this scene coming up. And this scene is honestly great. It is the only time where the cuts actually work. So the old couple go outside and start their meditation, and while they are meditating, it cuts to Lainey and Joel acting like a parallel. The old couple is at peace while Lainey and Joel are fighting. Then Bobby takes off running, which I don't know why he starts running exactly, but he starts running. Then the scene cuts back between Bobby running, Lainey on her bike, and the old couple meditating. Then finally, Lainey and Bobby take the shortcut and they end up crashing into each other and the couple disappears. And to make this scene better, Into the Mystic plays throughout the entire thing. I don't know if I did the best job explaining it, but this scene is actually really great and you can find the full scene on YouTube, which I'm not going to play it in this review because I feel like it will kind of derail the pacing because this review is already long. So I'm just gonna just find it on YouTube and watch it for yourself. It's really good.
The power that has, the intelligence that has, the clearance that has.
I actually first watched this movie a couple years ago because my mom really wanted to show it to me, which, by the way, my mom's not happy I'm doing this review because she thinks this movie is a work of art for some reason. And before I watched this movie again, I kind of forgot, like, everything that happened, except I remembered this scene, like, pretty clearly. I don't know, it stuck with me for some reason. I don't know. I just think it's really good. Now, if only the rest of the movie were like this. It's downhill from here on out. So then we get like one of those shots where a character wakes up and they see a bunch of characters like peering down at them and oh no! Bobby's not Bobby anymore! Bobby is now Coleman trapped inside Bobby's body! Then Coleman runs outside, which by the way, I know it's Bobby's body, but like, it's really Coleman inside Bobby's body. So I'm just gonna refer to him as Coleman from here on out, unless it's actually Bobby. Then Coleman runs outside just to run back in the house. And that's when we get our first dreamland sequence. So basically throughout the movie, Coleman is able to communicate with Bobby whenever he goes to sleep. And inside of these like this dream realm that he goes to, Gina is seen packing up the house. So in this first dreamland sequence, Coleman and Bobby start bickering a little. Then Bobby explains that his wife is packing up and leaving. Then literally at the very last second, Bobby like gives him like the most important piece of information. Literally at the last second, he's like, oh yeah, by the way, you'll lose her forever if you don't hurry. Seriously, it's done as a quick voiceover.
If you don't find Gina soon, you're gonna lose her forever.
So Coleman gets dressed for school, and obviously he dresses like Coleman would dress and not how Bobby would dress. And then Coleman and Dinger meet up, and Dinger is all like, dude, where's your moose? You look so bad! Then they go to school, and obviously Coleman is freaking out because school is scary. I don't blame the dude. I was in high school, and high school scared me. Then Coleman runs into the one group that Bobby and his friends hate for reasons unexplained. Then Joel saves him, but then he's all like, you need to apologize to Lainey for crashing into her. So Coleman walks up to Lainey and they start talking, and then Coleman is all like, Gina? Then Lainey is all like, who the heck is Gina? Then this chick named Shelly, who's Bobby's girlfriend apparently. And I say apparently because this chick is barely even in the movie. She pulls him away and she's really mad at him for some reason. I think she's mad at him for crashing into Lainey. I don't know. And they break up, I think? I don't know. Even though they didn't show them together in the first place. Oh yeah, then they show that Lainey has forgotten her locker combination. They all end up going to class, and then Coleman is asked to be seen after class. And then we get one of the only moments in this movie that like actually made me laugh.
Sir, this is my IOU homework. I owe you homework, sir.
Thank you, Dean.
A lot of homework, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
So the teacher tells Coleman that his grades are bad, but he's not stupid, so he doesn't understand why he's failing, that he needs to improve before the SATs. Oh yeah, there's like an SAT subplot in this movie. I don't, there's a lot in this movie. We've established that. There's a lot. Then Coleman walks up to Lainey again, and then Lainey is all like, you know, it's really weird when you can't remember your own locker combination. And then Coleman is all like, hey, you're tugging your lip. Because that's what Gina does, apparently. Then we get a scene that forgets that Dinger is supposed to have a broken leg. And basically all of the characters are eating lunch and talking, and the only thing that we learn is that Shelly does Bobby's homework for him, apparently. Then we get another montage, and Coleman is seen running around the school looking for Lainey, and Lainey's trying to do a dance that she forgot how to do, apparently. This movie has a lot of moments that, like, randomly blast music out of nowhere. And don't get me wrong, the soundtrack for this movie is fire. Like, but the music is just placed in really odd places, and I think it plays solely to make the environment seem more fun, even though their environment is just kind of boring. Later on, Dinger finds Coleman and tells him that he needs to stop going after Lainey because then Joel will go all psycho. Okay, we keep hearing about Joel being a complete psycho, and don't get me wrong, like at this point in the movie we've seen like little things here and there, but Joel isn't in it that much. It's kind of hard to understand where exactly the characters are coming from. Later on, Coleman then finds the one friend that they're always hanging out with, and by the way, his name is Ike. I somehow didn't catch it when I was watching the movie and I had to look it up. Coleman does the one thing that all body swap movies do, and Coleman has to prove to Ike that it's really him by telling Ike only things that he would know. Then we see Lainey and her mom, and then we actually get some insight into Lainey's life. Basically, Lainey's dad is gone. He left. And then Lainey's mom is a gold digger, and she only wants Lainey to date Joel because of his money. Then Coleman picks up Lainey from her house and takes her to the old couple's house to see if Gina will appear to him, I guess. They then play a song, and then Lainey is all like, I love this song, but I don't know where I've heard it. And then they start dancing, and they even almost kiss, and the moment's kind of sweet until you remember that that's technically an old man and a teenage girl. Finally, both of them go to sleep, and we come back to dreamland. So in this dream, Lainey's in it too, and Bobby explains that because Gina wasn't as into the meditation as he was, her and Lainey didn't completely swap. Is that she just like wasn't as into it? That's why, it's because she just wasn't really into it. What? Then after that dumb explanation, Bobby lectures Coleman on how he needs to act more like Bobby and how he was running out of time and blah 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 blah. Then Coleman switches up his outfit and
oh my god, what is that? Oh my god! What is that?
Why is he dressed like a cowboy? Is this what the movie thought that the hip young kids at the time were dressing like? Because look, obviously I was never around in the 80s, but like, I seriously doubt anyone actually dressed like that. Then Coleman and Lainey get into an argument, and she tells him to stop hitting on her, and he tells her that he just wants to be friends. Then we get to this random sequence of them playing football in what I'm assuming is gym class. Dinger trips one of the bad guys, and they all get into this fight. Then Coleman and Joel start talking, and Joel asks Coleman about Shelly, and then I remember that she is even a thing. Then Joel starts complaining to Coleman about Lainey. Coleman is all like, why don't you just break up with Lainey? You obviously don't care about her. Then Joel is all like, I'm gonna knock you out, man. But then they make up literally directly afterwards. Then we get to a scene that makes absolutely no sense within the context of this movie. So a modern at the time, cover of Dream a Little Dream and Me comes on, and then Coleman recognizes the song. But then all of a sudden he gets up and starts dancing like Michael Jackson, and Lainey is like really into it. The scene by itself is actually fine. Like, I actually like the scene by itself. It's cute. It reminds me of 10 Things I Hate About You. But within the context of like the rest of the movie, it makes no sense. First of all, Lainey and Coleman got into an argument right before this, so like, why are they all of a sudden buddy-buddy again? Second, the movie seems to conveniently forget that this isn't actually Bobby, and this is in fact an old man dancing like Michael Jackson. Like, why would Coleman know how to dance like this? I don't understand. I seriously doubt Coleman watched MTV before they switched bodies. Thirdly, if you think about it, this scene is an old man trying to seduce a teenage girl. Nasty. So then Coleman takes Lainey out, and they do a bunch of stuff that Gina and Coleman did earlier in another montage. Lainey tells Coleman all this stuff about her life and how Joel gave her attention when she needed it, and then they kiss, and yet again the movie forgets that that's an old man. Stop it! Then after they kiss, gross, Coleman is all like, we are so drawn to each other because we're actually the old couple. And then Lainey is all like, oh my god, stop bringing up the old people, you're ruining everything! Then the bad boys find them, and then they beat the ever-loving crap out of Coleman insult Lainey, beat up his car, and leave. Then Coleman takes Lainey home, and then he's all like, when you dream tonight, please remember it, please. And then Lainey is all like, fine, whatever, bye. So Dinger and Coleman are just like big chillin', they're talking, and while that's happening, Lainey and Joel are getting into an argument. This is the scene that like finally like clicked to me, like, man, maybe Joel really is a psycho. Like we kept hearing about it and hearing about it and hearing about it, but I just really wish the movie would have shown it a lot earlier, you know what I'm saying? And look, this really also got me thinking, how are we supposed to root for Bobby and Lainey? Don't get me wrong, Joel straight up sucks. He's abusive, he's the worst, he's awful. But I mean, there's just a lot of things. Okay, first of all, Lainey's still cheating on Joel. Second, Bobby technically hasn't even interacted with Lainey. Third, that's still an old man hitting on a teenage girl. I don't care if his wife is technically in there. Fourth, that's still Bobby's best friend's girlfriend. Whatever happened to bro code, bro? Fifthly, I know the movie likes to pretend like she doesn't even exist, but what about Bobby's girlfriend, Shelly? Coleman comes home and he completely goes off on Bobby's parents about how they don't listen to him and how it's hard to be a teenager in this society. And this entire speech leaves little to no impact because his parents weren't even in the movie that much. Like, why should I care if the movie doesn't want to show me why I should care? You know what? That sums up this entire movie. Why should I care if you won't show me why I should care? Then Joel is seen smashing a bottle, and this sets off another musical montage moment. This movie is so exhausting. Basically, this just consists of Coleman and Lainey goofing off in their bedrooms, but nothing is like really happening, and they're not showing any emotion. So I don't understand what I'm supposed to be feeling here. So then we enter dreamland again. Yeah, Bobby, he's just straight up trolling this dude. He's just straight up like, haha, I'm not gonna tell you how to switch back. Stupid. So the characters all take the SAT in a scene that has way too many flash transitions, especially for one scene. Why? Then Lainey tells Coleman that she dreamed about the old couple and that he was right about everything. They also figure out that they cannot go to sleep tonight or else Gina will be gone forever. Then Joel punches the one bad boy in the stomach, and Joel, Dinger, and Coleman all end up getting detention. This does nothing for the story, but okay. After that, we get this very dramatic scene of Coleman trying to find Lainey, then they eventually find each other, so it's resolved pretty quickly. After that, we get to the school dance scene, because it wouldn't be an 80s teen movie without it. Joel and Lainey argue, and then Joel physically assaults her. Good God. Coleman and Lainey run out of the dance, and then Joel and the main bad boy get into it. After that, Coleman and Lainey go somewhere else and slow dance with a bunch of old people. After that, Joel grabs a gun and intends on shooting one of the bad boys. Holy crap, this movie went from 0 to 100. Lainey and Coleman start doing the meditation routine, but then they're interrupted by Dinger and the one dude that's always with them, but like he doesn't really have a name. They tell him that Joel intends on killing one of the bad boys, and so they rush out, but then Lainey's mom takes Lainey away, and then they let go of each other's hands, and it's so dramatic. Why? I just imagine them just like... So then Lainey's mom drugs her drink. Why is this movie going so hard all of a sudden? And meanwhile, Coleman, Dinger, and the one dude have to go and stop Joel. Then Coleman gives this big dramatic speech about how it's not gonna matter when you're older, and how you shouldn't throw your life away. The whole thing is stupid, and I'm not gonna go into it too much because this movie's been going on for too long. And I'm tired, so. And they stop Joel, yay. Then Lainey clonks out because her own mother drugged her, and this causes Coleman to freak out. He tries to break through Lainey's mom and her boyfriend, but he is unsuccessful. Then he's like, okay, fine, I'll leave. Then he climbs up to her window, breaks through her glass, climbs into her room, and he starts like holding her, and he's freaking out, and he's yelling, and he rubs blood all over his face, and then Lainey's mom and Lainey's mom's boyfriend has to like drag him away. It is so dramatic. Like, where was this energy throughout the rest of the movie? Like, it's a lot. And I gotta say, Corey Feldman gave this scene his all. I gotta give him mad props for this. He was actually great in this scene. So then Coleman falls asleep, and then he wakes up, and then we get the most disappointing, slap in the face, insulting plot twist I have ever seen.
And you know that stuff I told you about losing Gina and all that? Well, I made it up. Sorry, but it did make for a great story.
Yeah. You heard correctly. Everything that Coleman did to try and save Gina was for nothing. That means the entire movie meant nothing. Remember when you were in middle school and you had to write a short story for English and you decide to end it with, "And I woke up and it was all a dream," and you thought you were like some literary genius or something? Yeah, that's that. Except this movie was written by a grown adult who should know better. So everybody's returned to their bodies. Coleman now doesn't mind anybody using the shortcut. Bobby now doesn't feel the need to use the shortcut, even though I don't know what he did to grow as a person, but whatever. Bobby and Lainey also end up together, and so I guess that means Shelly and him broke up or something. I don't know. The end. Yay, it's over. Oh my gosh. I need a nap after that one. I don't even know how to conclude this video. This movie is one of the biggest messes I have ever seen. The pacing, the editing, the directing, the costuming, the lack of character development, Corey Feldman's greasy Michael Jackson hair. What was this? The acting, however, actually wasn't bad. Like, it was actually good. And Corey Feldman especially gave a good performance. Even with the source material that he had to work with, he still did a pretty good job, I have to say. And I do think the whole premise with, like, wanting to go to a dream world so you can live forever, I think that's actually a really cool idea. So it had a good premise and it did have potential, but, like, obviously a lot of things went wrong while making this movie. Look, I don't want this video to be entirely negative, so I'm just gonna list off things on one hand because there's that little things to like about this movie. I'm just gonna list off things that I actually did like. 1, the crash scene, but I already talked about that. 2, the soundtrack. Ugh, so good. 3, Corey Haim was consistently the best part about this movie. I'm pretty sure most of his stuff wasn't even scripted, and I'm pretty sure most of it was just him like goofing around, because random fact, he actually was cast at the last minute. I'm not gonna go too much into that, but he wasn't even supposed to be in the movie in the first place, but he was thrown into it, and you know, they wanted to cash in on the Corey, so they were like, okay, put him on the poster. But even though most of it was just some goofing around, he's just fun to watch. 4th is the chemistry between the two Coreys. There is a reason why they were in a lot of movies together. Like, they weren't in this movie together like a lot, but when they were, you could just see how close they were in real life, and it warms and like breaks my heart at the same time. If you want to watch a movie with the both of them that's actually like really, really good, I highly recommend The Lost Boys. It's not only is it my favorite movie they've both been in, it's my favorite movie ever. Like, not even just from the 80s, it's just The Lost Boys is my all-time favorite movie. I will make a video about it one day, but I'm gonna wait a little bit for that one. But yeah, Lost Boys is incredible. Watch it. Highly recommend it. Alright, I think that wraps up stuff I actually did like. So, how did this movie do? It made a little over $5 million at the box office. It has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. And while it has achieved cult status, it's mostly faded into obscurity. Let's keep it that way. I'm actually gonna start a thing in this series where I rank movies that I've reviewed from like ones that I like the most at like number 1, then ones that I enjoyed the absolute least as the bottom. So I've only reviewed 2 movies so far, so by default Teen Witch is number 1, and then the Dream a Little Dream, this pile of garbage, is number 2. If you do want to check out this movie and see why it infuriated me so much, then you can actually watch it for free on YouTube, but it does come with ads. But I mean, it's better than paying for it, so I mean. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed me losing my sanity to this movie. Comment what you want to see me review next, and don't forget to subscribe. Now remember, don't meditate inside a dream, and don't crash into someone while taking a shortcut.